here he is. He needs no introduction, but come on anyway. Mr. Silver Throat himself, Steve David.
What's happening? Wow.
What's up, Fan Expo Dallas? You having a good Saturday at the show? Alright, so my name is James Wallace. Thanks for joining us for this panel with this gentleman here. If you'd like to ask a question, go ahead and line up right there. I'll kick us off. So you've done, I would say, equally, if not more, iconic voice acting roles as you have iconic live action roles at this point. When you come to these conventions, what do you get recognized for more? Your voice acting work or your live action work?
Wow. I think they're both about equally.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you which one, you know.
Yeah.
Because everybody comes in for something else, or they'll see something at the table and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were in that." You know, so it also depends on, you know, like what I'm currently doing right now. I get a lot of, I'm wonderfully surprised, and I thank all of you for supporting Has Been Hotel.
Yeah.
A lot of Husk fans. So, I'm deeply grateful for that.
Well, let's talk about your voice acting, which really began. I mean, you did a Ralph Bakshi Christmas cartoon. That was your first voice acting role,
My
right?
God, that was.
You played a saxophone.
That was a while ago.
But your first true voice acting role that we kind of know you for was Gargoyles. 1994, and then of course you're the voice of Spawn, Princess and the Frog, Coraline, you mentioned, you know, Has Been Hotel. What's it been like? I mean, I can't imagine that you ever planned when you got into acting that voice acting would even be something that would be a part of your career.
Well, that's not really true. When I always loved cartoons and animation. I go back to Mighty Mouse. I don't know if any of you grew up. But I was always interested. I loved documentaries. And I loved those guys voicing those things. William Conrad, John Forsythe, Lorne Greene. These guys fascinated me.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved listening to them. And I always felt like, I want to do that. You know, there's a guy, I still am looking forward to having my own, you know, one day, Wild Animal Kingdom show. I think his name was Marlon Perkins.
Yeah.
Anyone remember that? I think it was Wild Kingdom, I think, something like that. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I always wanted to do that, you know, I mean, because it's like, I mean, when you're hearing a documentary and you're not seeing the voice who's talking, all you have is your imagination sparked from their interpretation of the material. And sometimes they tell wonderful stories.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, from, you know, even, I'm watching the pictures and everything, but if you didn't have the picture, you would still have the voice, you know, describing the action and what's going on. And sometimes it's just amazing. I mean, I'm still amazed when I see and hear a good documentary about the contribution of the voice actor.
Absolutely, yeah. It is kind of crazy now that you mention it, that you don't have a whole part of your career where you're doing voiceover for nature documentaries.
I've done a lot of National Geographics.
Yeah, it's just Morgan Freeman needs to save some for the rest of us, is what I'm saying. And kind of transitioning into your live action work, I mean, your work with John Carpenter, I know there's a lot of John Carpenter fans. You know, that kind of double feature of The Thing and They Live is just unmatched. Can you kind of talk about your collaboration with Carpenter?
The Thing was my first movie, so I mean, what's not to like? From my vantage point, I mean, I was fascinating, and actually, since then, it has been like it's the benchmark. It's where I measure everything else from.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter is one of the most efficient filmmakers I have ever worked with. He had a crew that worked with him most of the time, if not all the time. And they had a way of work, if you know anything about making movies, it's a 12 to 16 hour day from Jump Street. Just expect that. If it's anything less, well, then you're lucky. But John is when I first started, it was a 12-hour day. I can count, as I remember, you listen, okay, this is 40 years ago, so. But I can count on the fingers of one hand how many days we went over 12 hours.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, that don't happen every day, Chauncey, but
Yeah, 12 hours in a pretty intense shooting environment, for sure, yeah.
But some days are easier than others.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked on one movie, and the 12 hours would start from 5 in the afternoon to 5 in the morning. And that was like 4 weeks of that. 2 of those weeks, I'd come in at 5, I'd stay in my room until 1 o'clock in the morning, and they'd come in and say, listen, we're not gonna get to you right now, you can go home. So,
Yeah.
That happens.
I won't dare ask you your opinion on who you think The Thing is at the end of The Thing, but I will ask you how tired you are of people asking you who The Thing is at the end of The Thing.
I won't even get into that. But I will say that it is probably the most frequently asked question that I have ever received.
Half the people lined up and sat down. Let's talk about the fight scene in They Live, which I understand was choreographed and supposed to be shorter, but somehow ended up as a 5-minute, 20-second non-stop fight scene.
As far as I'm concerned, I remember it being as a 7-minute fight scene. If you heard that it was supposed to be shorter, then you didn't know something more than I do.
It was always long.
It was always meant to be what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very well choreographed fight.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, every move was choreographed. It was planned.
Yeah.
What was great is I'm working with Roddy Piper. So,
Right, of course. Yeah.
It's I mean, he showed he was really wonderful at showing me how to sell it.
Yeah.
I came from a stage background, so I was already a certified stage fighter. But stage fighting is there are wonderful similarities, but there are huge differences in stage fighting than on screen fighting, because there's things I can sell on stage that I can't sell in a movie. If, in a movie, we can have a fight and I don't have to be, I can be as far away as the person standing at the mic. I can be that far, depending on what the camera angle. I don't have to be close to you, but depending on that camera angle, if I'm that far away, then it doesn't look like a punch.
Yeah.
But I can, on stage, again, it's all about the angle, because on a stage, if it's a proscenium, I only have this perspective to worry about.
Right.
On the camera, I have another perspective to worry about. So if the camera's over here and the camera's over here, from here, it looks great. But from over here, I can see you wouldn't touch me. You didn't. So it's complex.
Yeah.
It's wonderfully complex because you gotta, you wanna sell the fight. In fact, I have a shoulder that's hurting me right now because of trying to sell a punch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I wasn't selling the punch. I was selling the receiving end of it. And went back and my shoulder. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and my shoulder went. Oh, don't do that. So anyway, but that happens.
Voice acting doesn't look so bad at that point.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's truly one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic fight scenes, ever committed to celluloid. So it just is so good every time I watch it. And every time I watch it, I'm like, is this gonna keep going? And it just keeps going.
If you've ever seen there's an old John Wayne movie called The Quiet Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That fight was designed after The Quiet Man.
Yeah, because They Live is very much a kind of Western, yeah. I want to stay in the genre. You worked with Jordan Peele on Nope, and he's kind of arguably our modern John Carpenter. I mean, even John Carpenter has said as much. What was that experience like working with Jordan?
It's always interesting when somebody asks me about what it was like to work. I'm an actor. It was work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How bad can it be?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, he's a wonderful filmmaker. I love what he goes after. How many of you have seen Nope? I would say that if you've seen it once, you really need to see it twice in order to really get it, because some people don't get it on the first glance. But once you have seen it more than once, you kind of, oh, that's what he was trying to do. That's what he was getting at. And it's the wonderful thing about movies, period. It doesn't matter what the genre is, but especially in sci-fi or horror movies, there's always something you see the second time that you seem to have missed the first time.
Yeah.
And then on the third and fourth time, there's another nuance that oh man, how did I miss that?
Yeah, and his films are kind of beautifully complex and layered in that way.
And his stuff is always wonderfully layered like that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well, last question from me, and then we'll take it out to you. I want to ask about your humble beginnings on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with Keith the Handyman. What was it like working with Fred Rogers? Because at this point, he's kind of this mythical figure, and in some ways, we could use him now more than ever. But he was
Mr. Rogers was probably one of the kindest human beings I have ever come across.
Yeah.
He was a Presbyterian minister, and his ministry was to children between, I think, 4 and 8, something like that. But it was to children, and he was marvelous. Because if you look at it today, he didn't condescend to to children.
Right.
He didn't, he spoke to them the way he would speak to you. It was simpler, but it was direct. I was in an episode called War and Peace, where he talked to children about conflict and how wars are started by misunderstandings between grown-ups, and instead of talking it out, they go to battle. And it was exquisitely done. I mean, it was tasteful, it was smart, it was, it just was just wonderful, because it was a great explanation about how wars get started over very simple misunderstandings. And I think about it now in my life as far as conflict is concerned, when I'm about to have an argument, especially with my wife. And does it have to escalate?
Yeah.
And it usually does not. It usually entails somebody's ego getting out of whack.
Right.
And the other person just letting logs being thrown on that fire.
Yeah.
But I think I refer back to that episode because I don't have to throw logs on that.
Yeah. Well, I think he taught so much of us, and it's still teaching so much of future generations those same principles. I mean, it's incredible how his legacy has lived on in that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, go watch an episode of Mr. Rogers, and it'll just, especially if you have kids.
Yeah.
And it will teach you something about communication.
Yeah, you'll be a better person for it too. All right, let's take it out to you. Hi, what's your name?
My name's Paula. My question is, with the recent release of the final shape, Destiny 2, how did it feel kind of taking over such an important piece of the story and piece of the community after Lance Reddick passed away? How did it feel?
I can't say that Lance was a great friend of mine. I knew him. We've met. But he was a wonderful actor. I had deep respect for him as an actor. And when you come in and you take over for someone, it's really about, for me, embodying the spirit of what he created. I wasn't trying to imitate him, but it's like in a relay race. When you're handed the baton, you take the baton and you run your part of the mile, and you do the best you can. And that's, all I could do was go back and watch some episodes, of what he had done previously, and feel the vibe and the spirit of what it was that he was trying to do in the story. Who is this man? And I did the best I could, and I will continue to do that as long as I can.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Hey, what's up?
My name is Josh. I'm a huge fan, and what I always appreciate is when I check out a new piece of media and then I find out you're in it, I turn on the episode and I'm like, oh man, Keith David's in this, I'm so excited. And the 2 times recently that happened to me was the new Justified series, which was fantastic and I loved. And then the anime Pluto on Netflix is also a fantastic show. And so I'm just watching and then I hear your voice or I see you on screen and I'm super excited. And so I want to thank you for that. Those are both fantastic. But my question was, when it comes to your preparation for going into a live action role or a voice acting role, how is that different for you?
It's not a lot different. I mean, to me, good acting is good acting. I still have to, if I'm doing an animated piece, you're not seeing me, but you're seeing something. My voice is playing, is representing that, that person that you're seeing, person or thing, whatever it is. But it's about relationships. What is the relationship he has to whoever he's talking to? And it's about connecting to the heart of the person who I'm talking to. So it's still acting. You just don't see me. But if you ever get a glimpse of what we do in the booth, it's kind of fun. It's very funny because you act with your whole body. You don't just act with your voice. And sometimes to get those sounds that you hear in an animated situation, what you see us doing in the booth would make you laugh even further.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, my name's Nathaniel. I wanted to...
Nathaniel, did you ask me if you could film this? It's okay now.
Okay, well, first I want to say happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And I was wondering, do you have any funny behind the scenes stories while you're acting?
Ask me again, I didn't understand.
You got any like funny behind the scenes stories when you were like voice acting?
I just told you. You know, again, you know, when you, like, if you see, it's funny that between the director telling us, no, I need it to be shorter, or can you make that longer? And it's supposed to be, the character is falling from the ceiling to the floor. So you see us in the booth going, you know, you know, and you got to do all that and stay in front of the mic. So that can be kind of funny, you know, or not when you have to do it 3 times because you got off the mic, and it's like, oh God, I got to do that again. Okay, you know, so that's about as funny as it gets. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, my name's Malcolm. I grew up on Gargoyles, so I just want to say for I'm happy to see you. Can I cheat and ask 2 questions?
Sure.
Start.
All right, for the first question, what was it like being a person of color in the upcoming entertainment industry back in the 80s and 90s? And second, if they rebooted Gargoyles, would you come back?
If they did what?
They rebooted Gargoyles.
I would gladly go back to playing Goliath in any in a New York heartbeat. Yes. You know, being a person of color in America is you know, has its inherent difficulties. It's gotten different. In some instances better, in some instances not. You know, in some instances, it's been parallel, or lateral movement. But in most instances, there has been some shifting. It's not necessarily, you know, it's not necessarily easy being American, period. In the shift of 30 years, it's changed for everybody. Now, and again, is it more intense? Is it different for black and brown people and people of color and different ethnicities? Yes, and it depends on what neighborhood you're in. In some neighborhoods, those differences that we all talk about seem vast. The media is going to make it seem vaster than it is, because in some communities we have all kinds of people, have always had all kinds of people, and we've all gotten along. But if you read about it in the paper, I didn't know we didn't get along like that. You know? So, you know, you have to measure your own experience by your own experience, and not always listening to what they say, because they lie. They lie a lot, you know. It's very true about the difference that you want to see in the world. You have to make. You have to be that difference. If you don't like those things, then don't contribute to them. For me, the bottommost line is, as difficult as it may seem, just be the best human being you can be. That's not white, that's not black, that's not anything. That's just being a good person. And that, you know, it's hard enough because people can get on your nerves. Your mama can get on your nerves sometimes, you know. But, you know, the thing about your mother getting on your nerves, for the most part, you're not disrespectful to her. So if we could extend that to the people around us, I think the world would be better. I don't have to like you, but I also don't have to disrespect you. So, I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello, sir. My name's Willow.
Hello,
And I haven't seen Hazbin Hotel, but I know some of the plot, and I love the soundtrack. What's your favorite and least favorite song, and why?
One of my favorite songs you haven't heard yet. So, look out for season 2. But, you know, obviously, I didn't expect Loser Baby to be so, to be made so popular, but, you know, because, and somebody, you can address this for me. I think Loser Baby is popular because who hasn't felt like that?
Yes.
I mean, if you look at, we could look at Shakespeare, look at Hamlet and say, oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I. Now, at some point in your life, who hasn't felt like that? So, the thing that resonates in my soul about Loser Baby is, at some point, we have all had those feelings. Sometimes they lasted for a minute, sometimes they lasted for a year. But we've had them, and we navigate our lives through them. And when you see, when you can hear yourself reflected on a screen somewhere, it's moving. It gives you hope and possibility that whatever this thing is that you're going through is not going to last. If you know, it will pass. It may not happen as fast as it does in a half-hour cartoon. You know, it may last a little bit longer than that. But if you stick with it long, stick with it long enough, you know that there is another side to whatever it is that I'm going through. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
And what was your least favorite song in the soundtrack, and why?
Huh?
What was your least favorite song in the soundtrack, and why?
I'm not going to have that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. What's up, man?
My name is Spivey.
Your name is what?
Spivey.
Spivey.
Yeah, Spivey. I'm just.
Because you know what I heard? Hi, my name is what?
I'm sorry.
I didn't know what that was.
I'm collecting my thoughts right now. You're a childhood hero of mine. I'm a big Halo fan, and Halo's the thing that brought my entire friend group together for like years. And being this close to you right now, I'll come to your photo op later. But being this close to you right now is completely unreal for me. And I have a Halo-related question.
It's real. It's as real as it gets.
All right. So, what was your favorite line as the arbiter, and what was your favorite game to record?
I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, first of all, it was so long ago, I don't know. But I loved Were It So Easy in that moment. But there were, and I can't remember line for line, but do you remember when the worm turned for Master Chief and the Arbiter?
Yeah.
And the relationship took on a dip when they were no longer adversarial,
Yeah.
and they became in league with each other. And first it became the respect of great adversaries, and then they became friends. That was my favorite moment.
That's a good one. One last. Do you think the arbiter should come back?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Well, so, you know, and some of that is up to you guys. I mean, you have to write in, text in, you know, get on the internet and say, hey, we want to come on. It makes a difference.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, my name is Stephen here. What's your favorite character off video games?
In video games?
You voice acts.
Yeah, what's your favorite voice role in a video game you've done?
Wow. Well, certainly, the Arbiter is a big favorite.
Awesome. Thank you.
Happy late birthday.
Thank you.
Kind of like what he said, I kind of look up to you very much. I've been since Princess and the Frog. I'm not even joking. It's because that villain is my all-time favorite villain. I'm not even joking. Friends on the other side will always be like one.
Won't you shake a pulse in his hand?
Yes. My question would be, what would be one of the most characters out of the roles you've done that you've related to the most?
In my experience as an actor, you learn a little bit about yourself in every character you play. You know, everybody is different, and yet everybody is the same. So, you know, there's a little bit of Facilier in me. I mean, you know, and then there's some aspects of Facilier that I'm really not. You know, I'm not seriously out to get you. You know, but I can certainly be as playful. I mean, I certainly, you know, and I think you do. I think every time we play somebody, you learn something about yourself, and you learn something about life, which in turn helps me to be more tolerant of myself in the world and of other people. Because, you know, most of the time, let me put it like this. And this was a direct quote from Robert Guillaume, for those of you who know who he was. And he played Rafiki in The Lion King. And he told me once, when you discover how little other people really think about you, you will stop worrying about what other people think about you. And you know, I take that to heart, actually. And at the same time, as I said before, you know, the respect that you give yourself is the respect that is also then reflected in the world. You don't have to like me. I don't give a kitty whether you like me. I do demand that you respect me. And I use loosely the term demand because I'm not going to come with the kind of expectation that if you don't treat me like I think I want to be treated, that's disrespectful. Sometimes, you know, it just looks different on somebody else. I'm not really being disrespected. I'm just being treated differently than I thought I wanted to be. Many times, I don't want to be, I'd like you to judge me by my intention. Most of the time. But the truth of the matter is, I don't give a doggone what your intention is. It's what you do that counts. And that's what you can be held accountable for. So, it's not about lowering your expectation, but it is about not demanding that the world meet your expectations. You know, if we walk around with an open heart, then okay, there's going to be some subtle differences. There's going to be some vast differences. I'm just not going to make it about me. You know, every time you are disrespectful to me, most of the time it has nothing to do with me. You don't know me. When somebody flips you off on the freeway, do you think they're really thinking, hey, that's Bobby, I don't like him? You know, they don't really give a damn who you are. You could have been anybody. When you start taking it personally, and you want to, I mean, come on. Let it go.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we got about 10 minutes left, so we'll try and get through as many pieces as we can in the time we got left.
I'll try to keep it short, I promise.
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm going to ask about something that probably not a lot of people here will, but I'm a big Grey's Anatomy fan, and I don't know if you get asked often about your role in Grey's Anatomy.
It was season 1, episode 6. So, and then what are they, 19 seasons now?
21.
20, okay.
Coming up.
You are?
How long ago that was?
Yeah. That role was a little different than a lot of other stuff you've done. Was it, like, what was cool about it that you were able to do it versus what you normally do?
What was cool about it? First of all, I mean, like, as you said, it was something very different than what I normally do. I really enjoyed that character because he reminded me of an actor who I know. You know, he's just another man that I know that was very much like him. So I got to, in my own imagination, I got to play him. You know, I got to be that guy because I know that guy.
Yeah.
When I'm playing whoever I'm playing, what makes a difference to me is I'd like you to walk away from the experience, whether you like the guy or not. Sometimes, you know, acting is my ministry. I used to want to be a preacher, and acting is my ministry. And if I'm playing a guy that oh my God, I wish I knew him. I want to be more like that. That's a blessing. It's also a blessing when I play somebody and you go, oh my God, I hope I never be like that. I don't want to be like that because, you know, what we're talking about is human behavior. Now we all think I would never do anything like that. I don't know anybody who would do anything like that. But if you watch any of these not reality shows, but any of these criminal shows where who did this and these, it's pretty incredible the vast array of what human beings are capable of and what they do. I mean, who would think of killing their mother or killing your hiring somebody to kill your ex-husband? People do that stuff, and so my point is, I relish those moments when I get to play somebody and you say, wow, I know that guy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren. Someone stole my gargoyles questions, so I will give you a softball. Do you have any insider information for us for Has Been Hotel Season 2? Anything?
Of course.
That you can actually tell us.
Well, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So, I have nothing that I can disclose.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we got, somebody wants to give me We got time for a couple more. Hi.
Hi, Keith.
Hey.
I'm Josh, another Josh.
Hey, Josh.
My question is, what's it like kind of playing a more over-the-top version of yourself like you did in Saints Row 4?
Josh, let me tell you something. You see my really cool demeanor right now? I ain't always like that. There are moments in my life when it gets a little bit over the top. Get on my nerves or piss me off and you'll see that. Or, sometimes if I think something is really funny, But we have those moments, but it's all fun, it's all good.
Thanks, Josh.
It's all for your entertainment.
Hi.
Hi, Keith.
Hey.
I played a lot of Halo when I was younger, and the Arbor is one of my favorite characters in any video game. And I also think it's so cool that now you're voicing Zavala in the final shape. And I was just curious if, what is, out of all the games you've voiced, the one that you've played the most?
Oh yeah, you play the games that you get to voice?
You'd be surprised how little games I play. I'm not a gamer.
That's totally fine.
I've never gotten past stage 3 and level 3 on Pac-Man. It's just, I find it horribly frustrating. And when I can't, one of the things that I do a lot is, on your phone you can play those wood games.
Yeah.
Well, there's one that I play, and apparently, very early on when I first started playing it, I got up to 74,025. I have yet to be able to get back over there. I find it frustrating as hell. But I spend, I spend that last half hour before I go to sleep trying to beat it. And I never get there. It's like, I do feel like somebody's out to get me, but I don't act it out,
Thank you. All right, I think we got time for one more here.
At least one more.
Yeah.
I'm Jason.
Jason. Hi.
I'm going to go against everyone else and say I do Mass Effect more. So I wanted to know if you knew that Admiral Anderson was going to die at the end.
I did not. I was deeply disappointed and greatly surprised. And it's a game, so you think, oh, maybe there's some world in which he can come back. And I wish he had. Somebody asked me about the characters I play, and I tend to forget about Captain Anderson. I love Captain Anderson. I really, really do.
That's all I had. Thank you.
One more.
You're the boss. You tell me. Yeah. I think we had a couple more minutes left. So.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sky. I'm very nervous.
No, you're good. We're all here for the same reason.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
So I've seen you in many things, and I wanted to know, how much of what you play is you, your actual personality. How much of Elroy from Community is Keith David?
You don't want to know. Again, because somebody asked a similar question earlier. The thing that I still find so wonderful about acting, when it stops being fun, I'm going to stop. That's when I'll retire and not do it anymore. And of course, there are aspects of of him that I find in myself. But what I get to do is I get to play out whatever that fantasy, you know, within my, whatever is like me, I get to act it out in an exaggerated sense. Some of that stuff I would never do myself in public, but I get to do it on TV. You know, so I'm gonna play the hell out of it. Because, you know, but like, I think somebody asked me here about playing villains and playing bad guys. You see, I love that. I love that when I get to play a real asshole, a real terrible guy, because then I don't have to go home and kick the dog or beat my wife. I've already got that shit off on me. You know, it's called a play. I get to act, I get to do all that stuff, and you know, in a safe environment where I'm living in that world of make-believe. So when I come home, I can try to be as nice a guy as I can possibly be, because that's my job. Absolutely. I just want to be a nice guy.
To kind of go with that question, is there anything that you do in particular to prepare for certain characters? Like, I know some actors will like try to set themselves into the mindset of that character, or try to like listen to music that reminds them of the character. Do you do anything like that?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean, you know, there's no. I think when people ask me that, or ask that question of any act, you think that there's one answer. There is no one answer to that question. For different things, you know, sometimes I do listen to music. I mean, I may play a character who particularly likes rap music. Now Keith doesn't listen to a whole lot of rap music, but if the character does, then I'm gonna spend some time listening to the music that I think that he listens to. Because I mean, depending on what the task is in the story being told, I want to know how that plays into it. So I'm going to explore that possibility. You know, the same thing would go for classical music or any, you know, maybe, you know, there's a guy that I play that is a big gambler and he likes horse racing. So I'm going to watch the horse race just to get into the mindset to see what that's like. You know, so yes, right? Is that the answer? That's the answer.
Well, I'm going to end on this note. I believe in kind of speaking things into the universe and they happen. You know, you mentioned playing great villains, and you have voiced Mufasa at one point, taking over for James Earl Jones for the video game, and you're voicing Mufasa's father. At some point, and it will be a sad day, James Earl Jones will not be able to voice Darth Vader. I'm going to throw your name in the hat. Can you imagine a world in which we get to have a Keith David Darth Vader? I'm just throwing it out there. We're all pulling for it. Fan Expo Dallas, a huge Texas-sized round of applause. You will be back at this table the rest of the day and tomorrow, so stop by and say hi. I'm sorry we didn't get to all your questions, but if you have one, swing by this table, say hi. Please exit through these doors here, and on your way out, keep it going for Mr. Keith David.